Hey there, Shrine Runners! Hello, and welcome to the Fox Shrine. I'm Araxis, your host, and today we're going to be playing some Please Be Happy. Hey there, TVPG. Hope you're doing alright. Thank you very much for the subscription. I do appreciate that. We're back at home for at least a couple of weeks. So it'll be a little bit more comfortable for me to stream right now, which is good. Hopefully the audio quality is a little bit improved over before as well. Admittedly, I'll be back at my mum's place for another, like 3 or 4 weeks or something like that. Again, minding the place. She's going on lots of holidays. He's going to Japan, so on like a cruise sort of thing. So hopefully she has fun. In the meantime, I'll get to mind the cat. Alright. Anyway, let's get into the game, shall we? Alrighty then. Let's continue to be happy. As always, do let me know if there are any issues with audio-wise, visual-wise. It's been a little bit since I've been on this computer, so always more important to double-check on those things. I did make sure that the microphone was set correctly, so hopefully everything's fine.
How far did we get last time?
I got apparently 51% through, so that's a good thing, right? Oh, right, I remember now. We were doing the book deal. That's right. Okay, let's go check that out. If I had have remembered that we were doing the book deal, I would have made the title more appropriate for it. Okay. I sit on a bench with a book in my lap, pretending to read. In reality, I'm not even trying. I'm watching the plaza across from me, where Aspen sits at a table alone. I offered to sit with her, but she declined, saying this was something she needed to do alone. Still, she knows I'm watching, even if I'm too far to hear. Pulling my phone out of my pocket, I slowly type a message wishing Aspen good luck and send it. From a distance, I see her check her phone and an instant later receive a few heart emojis in response. It was kind of cute when you're sending messages despite being in talking range. Just then, a stranger approaches her, and the two of them talk for a second, before Aspen jumps up to shake their hand. Then they both sit back down, and Aspen scoots her chair in closer. They chat for a long while, enough for the waitress to come out and refill their drinks several times. From what I can tell, it looks like the agent is doing most of the talking, and Aspen is mostly listening. Even from behind, I can tell when she's saying something, because of the way she sits up and starts to move about animatedly. After a while, the agent opens their briefcase and passes some papers to Aspen, who stares at them. The agent stands, and a few seconds later, Aspen does too. They shake hands a second time, before the agent pays their bill and leaves, Aspen lingering at the table. When a couple more minutes pass by and she still doesn't move, I get up and go to her instead.
Hey, you.
Startled, Aspen looks around before looking up to see me.
Oh, Miho. Sorry to keep you waiting. I was just...
Reading over the fine print, perhaps? Speaking of visual novels in general, I'm wondering if I want to do a Fate Stay Night playthrough, considering the streaming guidelines have come out for that, and they basically said, like, yep, this is all good to go. Only things that are an issue are basically like the openings. So yeah, that's something I'm considering. I'll probably pitch that on Discord later on, see if that's if that is something people are interested in, because I've wanted to replay Fate Stay Night for a while now. and playing like a properly translated version would be awesome.
It's alright. I don't mind. How'd it go?
Hopefully alright. The fact that I have to ask means I already know the answer. If it had gone as hoped, then I'm sure Aspen would be out of her seat jumping for joy.
It went fine, I think.
Ah, that fine. Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm alright. I'm fine.
You think?
Yeah. Shall we head back to the library? It's rather hot, isn't it?
Sure. Let's go.
It's not hot at all. In fact, it's downright pleasant. But I'm sure that's not the real reason she wants to get out of here. I lead the way, and although Aspen never lets go of my hand, she doesn't say anything either. The library still has a few guests in it when we get there, but we pass them by and head up to the dining room instead, only to find that it's already occupied.
Oh, hello.
Hello? Juliet has papers of her own spread out on the table, but she sweeps them together and tucks them away as she greets us.
Hey!
Still silent, Aspen distractedly sits down, already pulling out the packet the agent gave her to examine. Juliet gives me a questioning look, and I offer a tiny shrug in response. I assume that we're going to find out what's on Aspen's mind soon. There are 2 parts to the packet. The first one is huge, almost as thick as a book. It must be the copy of the manuscript Aspen sent him. The second one is much smaller, but still lengthy. That's the one Aspen focuses on. She reads over the document, which has to be at least a dozen pages long, if not more. Even worse, the printed words are really tiny. Finally, she puts both bundles into her bag, chewing her lip before speaking.
I think I can do this.
Do what?
Aspen snaps her attention to me. She just noticed she's not alone.
Oh. I'm sorry. I spaced out.
Yeah, we could tell.
It's quite all right. It's clear you have a lot to think about.
Yes. Well, hopefully I've got most of the thinking out of the way.
What if you could see, like, a solicitor or something about that? Like, it's probably got some legal mumbo-jumbo in there that you'll want an expert to look at. She slumps back, shoulders rising and falling as she sighs.
They said it needs a lot of work, which is understandable.
Mm-hmm.
I already knew that from all the rejection notices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I said, I can't expect your first book to get published or anything like that, and editing is important. Often with my own work, I say that I've done the best that I can, so like I can't think of a way to sort of like edit it down or anything like that. But that's what the editor's job is. Like they're having like a second set of eyes, and in particular, a set of eyes that is familiar with the process of editing. Is absolutely vital for any sort of work out there.
I hadn't realised the scope of the issues, but fortunately they did. When I saw all the markups, I was taken aback at first.
Well, it sounds like they've taken her seriously. The fact that they've gone over everything already, apparently.
It made sense when I thought about it, though. They're a publisher for a reason, and as a first-time author, I want a publisher for a reason. So it needs a lot of work. A lot of rewriting, really. but they encouraged me to fix it up and then resubmit.
Okay.
They asked me to make my decision by Halloween, so I have a few weeks to think it over. But I think I'd be a fool not to do it, right?
So why are you thinking about it then? Aspen looks at Juliet and me in turn, and from her knitted brows and small frown, I can tell Juliet is thinking the same thing that I am. Hey there, Callista! Thank you very much for the lurking, I do appreciate it. Here's to another 16 months indeed. Exactly. Hopefully many, many more.
You don't sound convinced.
Yeah, thank you for the subscription. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's what I'm sort of going on about here. It sounds like there's a but here, and I am not talking about someone's rear end.
It's a big decision. Surely you don't need to make it right away. Why not take advantage of the time they gave you to think about it?
You know what? I like that umbrella. It's got a long stick.
I don't have to decide right now. But if I just let myself think about it too long, I'll never do anything.
Let's talk about it.
I've learned that the hard way.
But yeah, like, sometimes you do get rooted in indecision. Like, this is just in general, really.
Besides,
Her voice drops, and face falls.
there may not be another chance.
It's the last one. I follow her gaze. Tucked into her bag, near where the papers from the agent were stuffed, I can see the corners of several more empty envelopes. More for Aspen's collection. She catches me looking and nudges the bag shut with her foot.
I suppose you're right, though. I should give it a bit more thought. It can wait until after the weekend, at least.
Relieved, Juliet nods.
I think that's a wise idea.
We spend the rest of the evening together, chatting and having a good time. None of us mention writing or Aspen's book again, including her. Still, there's something in the way that she talks and laughs, like she's only half listening. I'd hoped that a meeting would make Aspen feel better and relax again, the way she was on our date at the gardens. Instead, it seems like it's done the opposite. It could be that she's upset about how much editing is required, certainly. As anyone sort of like involved in a creative process, criticism can be hard to take. Not all criticism is equally valid, of course, but no one's going to sort of like want to hear like people like speaking poorly or like saying like this part you've done wrong here or something like that. It's all a matter of wording, and like some of it could be good-natured. It can be tough. Knowing when to take aboard that criticism and improve, and knowing when to like just discard it as the rantings of an internet troll, I guess, is definitely a skill. It takes some strength, absolutely. Hopefully she's able to take aboard anything that is like solely in the name of sort of like improving things and helping her like refine her style. It's hard to see her struggle, and I wish there was something I could do. I'm the least qualified person to give Aspen advice on something like this. I don't know anything about books or writing or publishers. I do know how important writing is to her, and how many of her dreams revolve around it. I know how hard she's worked, and we'll keep working. No matter what, I also know that it's something she'll have to decide for herself, with or without advice from Juliet and me. Of course, I'll support Aspen no matter what she chooses. I just hope that whatever decision she makes, she won't end up regretting it later. By the time Aspen has to head home, she's perked up a little bit, but not enough to make me stop worrying about her. Still, she says goodbye with a kiss and a smile, and a promise to come by in the morning. Right now, that'll have to be good enough for me. On Saturday morning, I wake up around my usual time, but linger in bed for a while. I can hear the distant sounds of Aspen and Juliet having an animated conversation. Aspen laughs, and Juliet laughs. I don't know what they're laughing about, but I smile too. I just like hearing my girlfriend laugh after all, no matter what kind of troubles are weighing on our minds. If she's able to laugh despite everything, then that's a win in my book. Aside from a couple hasty meals, it's been a while since the two of us have really got to spend much time together. Sometimes it's easy to forget that they've known each other longer than they've known me. Outside, it's shaping up to be another beautiful day. There are clouds, but none of them are rain clouds. The trees and grass sway in a gentle breeze beyond my window. I've had more beautiful days here than I can count. Even Wellington weather had its worst and so bad from indoors. I open my window, enjoying the morning air as I freshen myself up too. Making my way silently to the kitchen, I pause just out of sight and listen.
I've given it lots of thought.
I have, but I still can't decide. Regina really wants me to take it, of course, but...
But there are good and bad parts of both.
Exactly. I feel like... I'm not sure who to compare it to.
No need to compare. I understand what you mean.
I like the CG. For a little while longer, I stay where I am, unseen. Not because I want to eavesdrop or spy on Aspen and Juliet, but because I don't want to interrupt them. I just want to let them talk. Maybe I'll do just that. Hearing Aspen express some of her worries and hearing Juliet offer words of encouragement reminds me of some of my earliest days here. Both of them changed their lives around to include me, which is something I'll always be grateful for. Still, I should give them a chance to spend some time with just each other. Not because I feel unwelcome, because that hasn't really happened since I arrived. Eventually, there's a moment of silence followed by the sound of a cup being set on the table. I choose this time to make my entrance.
Ah, there you are.
Good morning, Miho.
Good morning!
I go into the kitchen and grab a piece of toast and an apple, but I don't sit down.
Sleep well.
Sure did. Now that I'm up, though, I think I'm gonna go for a walk.
This early? Well, it was quite nice on my way up here.
Yeah, I used to go for morning walks all the time, but it's been a while.
You couldn't have picked a better day, it seems. Enjoy yourself then, Miho.
Toast and an apple on a walk. Sounds lovely.
I will. See you when I'm back.
Get some music to go along with that, or an audiobook perhaps. Admittedly, I'm not sure how she's going to wear headphones. And earbuds seem like they'd be a little bit small. I wonder if they got like specialized ones. For good measure, I wrap a couple more slices of toast in a paper towel and put them in one of my deep pockets, along with another apple and some packs of jam. I'm unprepared, I see. I wave goodbye before I leave, then I head back to my room to get dressed before stepping outside towards the road. Munching on my breakfast as I walk, I hum a song to myself that I heard on TV. I go in the direction of the ocean, same as usual. My days of aimless wandering really have decreased. I actually have places to go now and people to see. A day without any plans is a luxury. I wonder how Zhong-in chose where to go on their travels. What first brought them to my forest all those years ago? Was it on a whim? Or was there something in particular they were searching for? If there was, I hope they found it. I would have loved to ask. Would have loved to tell them all about Aspen and Juliet. More than anything, though, I wish I could have thanked them. Our time together was short, even by human standards, but it still meant everything to me. I take myself to Mount Victoria and start the familiar climb. But before I get to the top, I stop. It's only been a couple days since I last came here and saw Silver. Trying to visit her again so soon might be pushing my luck. But then again, so is trying to visit her at all. The lukewarm toast and apple in my pocket aren't much. But if she lives anything like I did, she'll still probably appreciate them. Even if she doesn't say it. Instead of transforming, I stay on 2 feet, heading in the same direction I went last time. I'm not too concerned about finding her. If she wants to be found, she will be. Keeping my eyes and ears peeled, I watch for a glint of silver fur or the sound of a snapping branch. When I finally spot her, it's purely by accident. Once again, she's in her human form, rather than fox. With her back to me, she kneels at the edge of a patch of grass, attention focused on something I can't see. She doesn't move as I approach, though I'm sure she knows I'm there.
Be careful.
I halt, still a few feet away. At least she didn't call me a dog.
What is it?
I approach delicately, scanning the ground before every step. Finally, I arrive behind her and look down to find my answer. A bird, about the size of my hand, lies on its side in the grass. It's alive, but clearly injured. You gonna eat that?
What happened to it?
This one was blown from its perch in the tree. For whatever reason, it was too weak to fly. Now, its leg is broken. It won't be long until it dies.
Looking down, I see that Silver's right about its injury. It struggles to flap its wings, but can't even push itself into a standing position.
Poor thing.
I kneel down beside Silver.
You were trying to help it, right?
She scoffs.
It is beyond help. Such is nature's way. I simply thought to put it out of its misery.
You didn't, though.
Silence. Before doing anything else, I reach into my pocket and pull out the food I brought with me, holding it out towards Silver.
Here, I brought you this.
She looks at it, but doesn't make any move to accept.
What is this? Poison?
It's sweet.
It's an apple. And some toast. It's not poisoned. I ate some myself. And this.
I have to dig all the way down to the bottom to find the little pack.
Grape jelly.
I think it would be called jam in New Zealand if it's similar to here. Though again, Miho's been to America, so she might have learned English there, so I don't know. Silver stares incredulously, like I'm trying to give her poison or something. I set the food down by her knees and turn my attention back to the bird. You know, I don't really see grape jam all that often here. Like, well, at all, to be honest. I'd like to give it a go if I'm being truthful. My favorite jam is raspberry, by the way. Raspberry jam is great. I set the food down by her knees and turn my attention back to the bird.
Let's get you some help, Birdie.
I cut my fingers together and reach for the bird, which finally gets a reaction from Silver.
What are you doing?
I'm gonna take it to the vet. The voice is sharp like a knife.
I'm going to take this guy back home.
I may not know what to do, but I'm sure Aspen or Juliet will. It's better than just leaving it out here to die.
Why? It's weak. Even were it to survive today, it's only a matter of time before something else claims its life.
I mean, by that logic, we should all just hurry up and die because we're all going to die anyway, right? So get it over with. I do not agree with that.
So what? I'm sure that time still matters to it.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us can relate, right?
As gently as I can, I slide my hands around the struggling bird and scoop up the poor little thing. Its beady eyes look around frantically. I can feel its tiny heart pounding in its tiny chest. I start heading back towards the library as fast as I can. Before I get very far, there's a noise from behind me, and I look back to see Silver following me. An empty paper towel dangles from her hand. Smiling to myself, I keep walking. When I step from the woods back onto the path, I expect Silver to have disappeared. Instead, she takes a few cautious steps out, looking left and right, as if a car might come barreling down the mountain. Avoiding my eyes, she walks past me and keeps going, like she was planning to do this anyway. When we reach the base of Mount Victoria, she's a few meters ahead of me, and I clear my throat loudly to get her attention.
It's this way.
He stomps after me, annoyed at Wellington for his geography or something. Her clothes, which are clearly meant to help her sneak around at night, stand out like a sore thumb in the morning sun. They also must be hot as hell. If either of those things bother her, she doesn't let herself show it. I curl my finger to shade the bird as much as I can. It seems to have calmed down a little, but it's probably more from exhaustion than anything. When we reach the library, Silver trails far behind. I wait at the entrance, not sure if she's coming or not. I don't ask. She'll do what she wants either way. After a moment, she walks up the hill and joins me. I simply nod in acknowledgement before I push open the door with my shoulder. Silver behind me like a shadow. Within seconds, Aspen pops her head out from the dining room.
Ah, Miho, we were just...
What's that ninja doing here? Why are you holding a bird? Choking in surprise, Aspen's eyes go wide as a saucer as she notices my companion. She disappears from sight, and I can only imagine what she's saying to Juliet right now. Behind me, Silver looks around in curious awe, although she stops when she notices me watching. I jerk my head towards the dining room and head in. Both Aspen and Juliet are there waiting, trying to appear casual. But by the way they're both just silently staring at the entrance, I'm sure it's just an act.
This is Silver.
It's not her name, really. She doesn't like that name either, but she refused to give me a different one, so that's what we're stuck with for now. She nods at the ground and says nothing, displaying none of her usual venom or drama. It feels as if she's hiding behind me, which is something I wouldn't have expected her pride to allow.
It's quite nice to meet you, Silver.
Charmed.
None of them know what to say. I can't blame them. Fortunately, it's something more important to talk about.
We came back here because we need some help. Or at least this guy does.
I uncurl my fingers and tilt my hands for Aspen and Juliet to see. I doubt either of them even noticed I was carrying something. They both lean in to see.
What's this?
The bird starts to struggle again, probably because of how many more people are suddenly staring at it. I mean, also probably because, like, your grip's loosened on it, essentially, so...
Ah! His leg! I'll be right back.
Peering at the little bird, it doesn't take Juliet more than a second to see what's wrong. She hurriedly departs for the stairs, moving right past Silver without a glance. Silver lurches to the side to get out of her way all the same. Aspen grabs one of the dish rags and folds it up to make a small square, and then sets that on the table.
Here, why don't you put him down on this? I read that it's best to put him in a box or somewhere enclosed, but this will do for now.
I gently lower the bird onto the makeshift cushion. Its eyes still dart around, but it doesn't struggle as much. I sigh with relief at being able to unfold my hands, shaking and stretching them out before washing them several times. Juliet returns soon with her phone in one hand, and a small cardboard box in another. Using a kitchen knife, she cuts a few holes in the side of the box and then puts it aside.
Miho, will you help me move him?
He takes two corners of the rag and I grab the other two, and we carefully lift it over the box and set it down inside.
Do you think it'll be okay?
I keep my voice at a whisper. Even though the bird can't understand our words, I still don't want it to hear.
I hope so. If not for you, it certainly wouldn't have a chance. I've contacted someone who will be able to provide better assistance than we can. She should be here shortly.
Is it a vet?
No, a contact at the nature preserve. She's rescued quite a few unfortunate creatures like our friend here.
I've never heard of a nature preserve before. What's that?
It's a conservation area on the north side of town. They have a bunch of protected land where they rehabilitate injured animals or ones that can't survive in the wild. I used to go there on class trips sometimes. One time we had a sleepover there, and I saw a kiwi.
I mean, aren't you a kiwi? She smiles fondly as she recalls the memory.
Whoa. I didn't know a place like that existed.
It's far from the only one. There are dozens more in New Zealand alone, of all different sizes.
Looking at the box on the table, I can't help but feel a little bad for our friend. He's probably never going to see his home on Mount Victoria again. He doesn't even get a say in it. I mean, not necessarily. It depends on what the nature preserve says. Like, if they determine that the bird can be rehabilitated, they'll release the bird. in where it was found. If not, then at least it'll get a chance at life in the preserve. But where he's going doesn't sound half bad. What does Silver think, though? Like Juliet said, he probably wouldn't have even survived if he'd been left on his own. If not for me, and for...
Silver?
She's gone. I only now realize that she's gone.
Oh, I didn't even notice her leave.
She's like that.
I go out into the hallway, looking at the stairs and around the room for her. The front door is open, but only a crack. Something's keeping it from closing. Walking over, I spot something on the floor, jammed between the door and the wall. It's the gnawed core of an apple, wrapped in a breadcrumb-covered paper towel. Laughing, I pick it up and throw it in the trash, letting the door shut behind me. In the dining room, Aspen and Juliet are both seated again. It's far past Juliet's bedtime, but she looks as awake and alert as I've ever seen her. I sit down too, waiting for the question that I know is coming. It doesn't take Aspen more than 2 seconds.
So, who exactly was that? Obviously she was a Gumiho, but...
Silver. I take a deep breath and try to think of where to begin.
It's a long story.
You know that's my favourite kind.
I thought your favourite kind were good stories. Nodding, I finally settle on where to start.
She used to be a fox, just like me.
When bedtime rolls around in the evening, I'm more than ready for it. Climbing over my bed to reach the window, I pause for a moment to enjoy the breeze. I've kept it open all day. As I reach up to pull it shut, the wind intensifies for just a moment. The flowers on my desk shake, and my scroll rolls off the edge and onto the floor. I slide the window closed with a dull thud, and then pick up the fallen parchment. It's been a while since I've opened it, but I still know every crease and rough edge by heart. Unfolding it, I stare at the familiar but unfamiliar scrawlings. What would that guide at the museum exhibit have thought if they saw my scroll? Could they have read it? Well, they probably would have thought I stole it from somewhere. No matter what it says, I probably got more use out of it than Zhongyin ever expected. What kind of person gives a scroll to a fox? Then again, that was part of what made them so special. My phone buzzes, and I set the scroll back down as I see Aspen's picture appear.
Hey!
Hey, you weren't in bed yet, were you?
Nah, not yet. Soon, though.
Well, I won't keep you up. I just wanted to say goodnight again, and that I love you.
Love you too.
I love you too. But I don't mind staying up. Is everything okay?
I can hear the sounds of Aspen's blankets, and an annoyed meow as she moves around on the other end.
Yeah, I'm fine. I couldn't fall asleep, thinking about all the editing I have ahead of me. Today was nice, though. I'm glad I got to see you and Juliet. And Silver.
Me too. And the burn.
The herb. Aspen laughs.
Right, and the bird.
Earlier, I told her and Juliet about the other times I had met Silver, and some of what I'd learned about magic. I kept the details of her past secret, though. It isn't mine to talk about.
I'm sure he's very glad he met the two of you as well.
Yeah, well, I couldn't just leave it there. Even if it can't have a normal bird life or live in the forest. At least it's got someone to take care of it now. I didn't really do that much.
You did plenty. Many people would have left him to die, if they even noticed him at all.
Maybe. Yeah.
I also didn't tell her and Juliet about how Silver thought we should just abandon him, too. The reason I gave Silver for why I couldn't do that was true, though I can't blame her for not believing me or understanding. Someone saved my life once, too. But Silver was chosen to die.
I thought that it should have a chance too. Even though it's just a bird, it's still alive. I'm sure people would have said I'm just a fox before. I didn't even know how to help it. I just hoped you or Juliet would. That was really the lucky part. That and Juliet knowing someone else to contact. It took a lot of people to save that bird, huh?
Even Silver, in her own weird way. I think she was glad it survived too. There's no response from the other end, though the call is still going. Just a faint sound.
Aspen?
I listen to the noise for a second, and realize it's her breath. She's already fallen asleep. Oh no. You've left your phone on and probably unconnected. It's gonna be flat in the morning! You're screwed, Aspen! Smiling, I leave the call running as I set my phone next to my pillow and lie down. Oh no, she's even leaving the call running! They're using picture chat as well, oh man. Oh man, oh geez, I hope you're not using that phone as an alarm. Okay, after a few seconds, the screen turns off, Aspen's photo disappearing as well.
Sleep tight.
2 weeks later.
Okay, you can open your eyes.
I take my hands off my face and look around. Aspen's apartment doesn't seem any different than usual, aside from being a bit untidy. But she stands there in front of me, beaming, with her hands behind her back.
Maybe it's a little silly to celebrate a 1-month anniversary, but I have a gift for you.
Look, you gotta appreciate the silly things, right?
A gift?
Aspen laughs and steps closer to me.
Yes, although it's kind of a gift for both of us.
Slowly, she brings her hands around, reveals what she was hiding. It's a stack of papers, too small to be her manuscript, but similar. She turns the stack so I can see the front page, which only has a few words written on it. Short enough, I can sound them out. Marriage contract.
The Fox and the Grove.
Yes, the title was supposed to be a placeholder, but I rather like it. It's a new story that I wrote. You can probably guess what it's about.
Ooh. I flip through the pages. There's only text on one side and a lot of blank space. Still, just holding and looking at this present makes my heart swell.
I can't believe you already wrote a new book.
It's much shorter than my novel. More like a kid's book than anything.
Yep, so the blank space is probably for like illustrations, perhaps?
Still, that's amazing. I didn't even know you were working on this.
That's because it was supposed to be a surprise, silly.
You silly Billy.
It's just working on all these changes to my novel. I needed something that I could write on the side for fun.
Yeah, makes sense.
No wonder you've been so tired all the time. You've been working on 2 things at once.
It's fine. I'm fine. Once I'm done with the edits, everything will be back to normal. Spending time on this felt like a treat.
With a bright smile that doesn't quite hide the bags under her eyes, I wish I could believe Aspen when she says that she's fine.
I only have a couple more days before I have to send in my revisions anyway. So by next week, I'll be able to relax again.
Yay! The area around her desk is messy, more than the rest of her apartment. Aside from her laptop and notebook spread across it, there are empty coffee cups, loose sheets of paper, and wrappers from fast food and frozen meals. The covers on her bed are unmade, revealing the shoebox that's hidden beneath it. The lid is bulging with how many letters are stuffed into it. Noticing my stare, Aspen zips over to the bed and pulls sheets down to hide the box, kicking some clothes and other stuff on the floor under the bed too.
Anyway, here, for you. I love you.
I take the papers as gently as I can and hold them close to my heart as I lean in to kiss Aspen.
I love you too.
Aww. Like always, the moment is way too short. But Aspen's smile looks brighter and more real when we part.
Go ahead and make yourself at home. I need to take care of the cats and do all my other after-work chores.
I want to play with the cats.
Okay. Let me know if you need any help.
Of course.
Another kiss on the cheek, and then she's off. A little smile and a little blush. On one hand, it's hard to believe we've already been dating for a month. On the other, it's hard to believe it's only been a month. It feels like ages since we said goodbye at the bus station. I've had that feeling several times since coming to Wellington, where the days feel like they either rush by or drag on. Either way, they've passed. I've been here for almost 3 months now. It's not the longest I've lived in one place, but I'm sure that at some point I'll pass my record. I kick off my shoes and lie back on the bed, staring up at the ceiling. Aspen's new book on my chest. Everything around me is the faintest trace of Aspen's perfume, along with the ever-present smell of coffee. The blankets, the sheets, the pillows, all of it. Even out of the room, her presence is all-encompassing. From the bathroom, over the sound of the running shower, I can hear Aspen singing something to herself. Wonder if she knows I can hear her. Or maybe she's doing it because she knows I can hear. Although her singing voice isn't the best, it's surprisingly clear and stable. I like listening to it just because it's hers. Right when I'm about to sit up, one of Aspen's cats, I think it's Byron, pops up on the bed beside me. I expect him to run away as soon as he recognizes me, but to my surprise, he doesn't. Oh, the cats are warming up! He sniffs my ear and my tail, then cautiously nuzzles my face.
Aww. Hey, buddy.
I reach out to try to pet him, but that turns out to be too much and he darts away.
Well, it's better than last time.
It is better than last time. Especially since you scared them deliberately last time. I move down to the floor with my back against the bed, setting the papers on my lap. They're stapled together at the top, but I'm afraid of tearing or damaging them. Even though I know Aspen could print another copy, there's something special about this one. It's the one she made just for me. I make sure there aren't any other cats around who might cause any issues, and then turn to the first page. In the middle of the forest was a grove, and in the middle of that grove was a log. It had been years since it had fallen, once one of the proudest trees around, and now in death was home to an abundance of life. It takes me a long time, probably longer than it should, to read through. But it's not just my slow pace with the words. It's also the memories that they call to mind. I can picture exactly what the log looks like. If I close my eyes, I could smell the damp grass, feel the breeze on my fur. Seeing Zhang Yin's words written out brings a lump to my throat. I carried them around in my heart for so long, before I even understood them. Now, seeing them written down, they'll last forever. Some of the details are different from reality, and of course Aspen's book doesn't use any names. But it's still my story. Back when I first met Aspen, I told her I didn't have any story to tell. Now, reading it back to myself, I can kind of see why she found it so interesting. Maybe there's always been more to me than I thought. Eventually, Aspen emerges from the restroom, her hair still wet. Spotting the papers in my hand, she approaches with a smile.
Hey, no dripping!
It's her house, she can do what she wants.
Oops, good save.
I can't let my favorite book get ruined after all.
That's a good point, though.
Favorite book?
Yeah, I loved it. I really loved it.
And how many books have you read, Miho? After putting the papers on the nightstand where they'll be safe, I stand up so that I can give Aspen a hug.
I'm so glad. That makes it all worth it. I was worried I might get something wrong or forget an important part, but...
I cut her off by tapping a finger to her lips.
It was perfect.
Kissing my finger, Aspen smiles.
It's what you deserve.
Aspen goes to dry her hair and then bustles around, finishing up her chores before returning to my side. Leaning against me, she yawns.
You should go take a nap.
Even without the yawning, it's clear that she needs rest and hasn't been getting much.
I can't nap. You're here. Besides, I haven't done any of my writing for the day.
Sometimes you need a break, right?
Wouldn't you write better if you're not tired?
That's why overtime and crunch is stupid.
I haven't been not tired for years. And what about you?
What about me? I'm fine.
But if I'm asleep, then that's less time that I get to spend with you.
We're still together. It'd be the same as if you were writing, right?
You have a point there.
Sit down in her desk chair, blocking off her computer and crossing my arms. Melodramatically sighing, she lies down on the bed, but still faces me.
All right, if you insist. But only for half an hour or so. If I ever sleep, you better wake me up before you leave, all right?
Okay.
I have zero intentions of waking her up. Yeah, that's what I thought. She gives me a doubtful eye.
I mean it. No slipping out silently so you can let me sleep, or any nonsense like that.
I promise.
I won't. I promise.
Removing her glasses and putting them on the nightstand, Aspen offers me one last smile.
Good.
Pulling the blankets up to her shoulders, she rolls over to face the wall. Doesn't even take a minute before I can hear the shift in her breathing. She's out like a light.
Just like on the phone.
Half an hour comes and goes while I watch videos on Aspen's computer or reread the book she wrote for me. Of course, she shows no signs of waking up anytime soon. Good. She needs the rest. I won't wake her up, but I won't break my promise either. It's simple. If I can't leave until she gets up, then I just won't go. I entertain myself, and time passes by. Byron the cat gets bold enough to try approaching me again, and Percy comes with him too. They sit down in unison up near my feet. Want to see the cats?
Here, kitties.
Holding out my hand, I stretch my fingers as far as possible. They stare for a moment, before one and then the other gives a curious sniff. Finally, deciding I'm not a threat, they both rub against my leg, letting me scratch their backs. Fur is soft and fluffy, like petting a pillow. They go back and forth around each other, suddenly not able to get enough attention. Well, not like I don't know how that is. Night falls, and even I start to get tired too. Aspen hasn't moved at all, other than to toss and turn occasionally. I send a quick message to Juliet. Oh, hold on. Got ourselves an ad for the moment. So we're going to take a brief break here, and we will resume in a few minutes. All right. I'm going to go and fill up my drink as well. Okay? Be right back. All right, we are back in action, everyone. I send a quick message to Juliet, tell her where I am, and then set my phone down next to Aspen's on her nightstand, besides the printed pages. It all feels very normal, but in a good way. The little fox in her grove would have never dreamed of the things she'd see one day. Planes, bones, apartment buildings. There are both airships and planes? Is what I'm getting here? Or did they make a mistake and accidentally write planes down here instead of airships? I'm curious. All she knew of humans was a kind touch and a piece of paper. In some ways, that little fox never changed. Moving as carefully as I ever did in the middle of a heist, I flick off the lights, half expecting the sudden darkness to disturb Aspen. But she doesn't budge at all. Same goes when I climb into bed beside her. I wrap my arms around Aspen, draping my tail across us both. Okay, so you've got your tail underneath your skirt rather than with a hole poking out from it, huh? Always interesting to see how they sort of get around tails in terms of clothing. Feels like that could be a little bit awkward for a skirt, admittedly. But, yeah. She moves slightly, and I curse myself silently. I must not have been careful enough.
Miho?
Her voice is less than a whisper. It's barely a breath.
I'm here.
Good.
Within seconds, he's asleep again. Before I myself drift off, there's a soft thump on the bed behind me, and then a second one. Hey, cats! Something warm and fuzzy rests against my back, and then again near my legs. That's gotta join in. I crane my head to look at the cats. They're both curled up into balls, paws near their faces, just like their owner. Aww. One thing I like about my mum's cat is when he sometimes decides to join me in bed. Because sometimes he'll get under the covers and he'll just stay there with me. He's cute. He's annoying when you're trying to make the bed though, because he decides if you're making the bed, he's gonna go play silly buggers with you. And he's gonna try and get under the covers and grab anything that's moving and all that. It's really funny, but it makes it impossible to make the bed when he's in that mood. So either you play his game, or you have to go away and come back in a few minutes after he's lost interest, and hope that he doesn't see you go back in there to try and make the bed. He's lovable. Byron stares at me in the dark, probably wondering why I'm looking at him. Deciding he doesn't care, he closes his eyes like Percy and Aspen. Feeling more content than I can ever remember, I shut my eyes as well and drift off into sleep. I wake up to a sound from hell. It screeches and blares, so loud that it hurts. My eyes shoot open in an instant. I sit bolt upright in a place I don't recognize. It's just Aspen's alarm. Where am I? What's going on? Beside me, something moves. I stare at the pulsing lump in the darkness, and suddenly remember the answer to one of my questions. I'm so disoriented I forgot I was at Aspen's. He rolls over onto her other side, not reacting to the sound. Instead, he looks confused for other reasons. I nod, too tongue-tied to know what to say first. Pushing herself up on one arm, Aspen reaches all the way across me and fumbles around until she grabs her phone. As she pulls it past my face, I realize it's the source of the noise. Presses something on the screen, and the sound disappears. With a groan, she drops her phone onto the blanket between us.
Time to wake up.
My racing heart begins to slow back down. It's just her alarm clock. Duh. I feel silly for being so panicked. It really took me by surprise. Yeah, that's those survival instincts that she's built up over many years when she was alone. That's not just going to leave her. I'm not sure Aspen even noticed. She rubs her eyes sleepily.
I'm not still dreaming, am I?
I
shake my head.
I don't think anyone could still be dreaming after that.
Why didn't... I didn't...
Her thoughts stumble off into a yawn, and then she tries again.
You were supposed to wake me up.
I fell asleep.
Only before I left, so I didn't leave.
Even half asleep, she still manages to smile. Rolling onto her back, she looks up at the ceiling with half-lidded eyes.
My day's already been made.
The two of us are some of the only pedestrians out this early. A few cars and the occasional school bus pass us by, but for the most part the walk to the library is quiet. When we get there, Juliet's already waiting in the kitchen.
Good morning, you two.
Morning.
Hello.
Go ahead and have a seat. The coffee's ready, and breakfast will be soon.
Thank you, Juliet. You're a treasure.
She pours herself a cup of coffee, even though she already had two before we left her apartment. Why can't I have more coffee in ZZZ? It only lets me have one in a 24-hour time limit. Oh, a real-life day. Damn it, let me have more coffee in that.
My pleasure. I'm glad to have a reason to cook.
Aspen nurses her drink, taking tiny sips, while nearly dozing off against my shoulder. Juliet finishes the food, while I spread out the dishes across the table.
Thanks, love.
Aspen mumbles as I set her plate in front of her. Even with the coffee, seems like she may fall asleep at any moment. I'm not sure she even knows what she said, but I heard her loud and clear. What do they call it? A pet name? It feels really good. If Silver was here, I'm sure she'd have a bunch of witty things to say about that. As I finish setting the table, Juliet brings a pot and a couple plates of food. Breakfast today is oatmeal with some fresh fruit and a waffle. And a waffle with syrup. That seems to get Aspen to perk up a little bit. Waffle. After we finish eating and clear everything away again, she finally seems properly alert and awake. After another cup of coffee too, of course. I've spent so much time with Aspen over the past day that when she stands up to go to work, it takes me by surprise. I'd forgot she'd have to leave. Once she says goodbye to Juliet, I walk with her to the door. Neither of us want to let go of the other, but eventually Aspen takes her first step outside.
Have a good day at work.
I will. Thank you for yesterday. And today. Even if I slept through most of it, it was nice to wake up beside you.
I sort of get what people say, like, have a good day at work. Like, you're at work, you're not gonna have a good day, right?
Yeah. We should do it again sometime.
Absolutely. After this weekend...
She searches for the words.
You'll be able to breathe again.
Exactly.
It seems like she might say more, but then, with a small shake of her head, she gives me a goodbye kiss.
Bye, Miho.
See you soon!
I watch Aspen go until she's disappeared from sight. I go back to the kitchen to grab a drink, and I'm surprised to see Juliet still sitting at the table. I'm so used to her going to bed when Aspen leaves.
Now you're gonna be extra tired too.
I sit down across from her and she chuckles, but there's real concern in her eyes too.
So, I wasn't imagining it. Is she alright?
She's...
He's burning the candle at both ends a little bit. Not getting enough sleep? Stressed out? Pushing herself too hard? All three?
She's Aspen.
Now Juliet really laughs.
Yes, fair enough. From the moment she told us about that conversation with her editor, I worried that something like this would happen.
Which part? How'd you know?
Juliet collects her thoughts before answering.
Before we met you, that book of hers was all Aspen could really think about. Even when we discussed books by other authors, it always came back to her own stories. And yet, for all the conversation and all the advice, I couldn't begin to tell you what her book is even about. Could you?
Nope, not at all. We've never had this conversation. I shake my head.
I don't know anything about it either.
I thought not. Do you remember a few weeks ago when she first told us she'd sent in her manuscript?
Yeah. She was going to surprise us with good news, but changed her mind.
Indeed. At first, she didn't want us to know until she had the contract in hand. In other words, until she was sure it's good enough. She feels she has so much to prove, not just to herself, but the world. Chasing perfection that's unattainable.
Yeah, perfection is... Like, I've said this before, but it's not something that you ever reach. Like, once you reach it, then you've achieved stagnation, is what I sort of, like, tell people all the time. You can sort of, like, strive towards it, but you can never reach it. Never, ever, ever.
So much of her heart and soul has gone into those pages that I can't help but imagine she takes every rejection personally.
Yeah, and I was talking about that one before. Like, it doesn't matter how sort of like good-natured something is. Like, it's never nice hearing something negative about it.
As a rejection of her, and not just her work. Because in Aspen's eyes, I believe they're one and the same.
And that's the creative process. Like, that's why it hurts a lot when something that you've made receives criticism. Because, like, it is you putting your heart and soul into it.
She said that this could be her only chance, and that's why she has to take it.
To Aspen, who's only ever seen one pathway forward to the future, I'm sure it seems that way. Even if from the outside, to you and I, that so clearly isn't true.
There are other ways other than publishing. There's vanity publishing, certainly. There's publishing web novels, like setting up like Patreons and stuff like that. Those are options. Like there's different routes outside the traditional publisher writer model.
There's a bunch of other stuff she's good at too, besides writing. Like running a cafe or doing research. Those are things that even I know are useful.
Slumping down into my chair, I stare at the small ring of coffee on the table where Aspen's mug used to be. No coaster?
I wish I could help her. She's done so much for me. But it was all I could do to even get her to sleep.
I'm sure that your presence and care for her helped more than you know. The end, painful or not, is up to Aspen to learn from her experiences.
Mm-hmm.
After all, it's one thing to know something from reading it in a book or hearing it from someone else. It's quite another to live through and experience something yourself. You and I can't grow for her. We can be there for her. Sometimes, a kind word and the knowledge that we aren't alone can be the support that we need.
Yeah. How's the saying go? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will leave emotional scars that will never heal. By the same token, words can also leave wonderful memories that will never be forgotten. Sometimes, that small, kind gesture that you do that seems insignificant could be just the thing that helps someone out. So try to be nice. It doesn't necessarily cost you much at all. Obviously, there is such a thing as emotional labor and all that. Don't forget that. But that's getting into the weeds of it.
The strength must come from within ourselves. Whatever choices Aspen is faced with, only she can make them. All we can do is offer our comfort and guidance. And Miha?
I look up from the ground, meeting Juliet's gaze. Although she's not angry or upset, she's unusually serious.
Don't forget to care for yourself, too. It's easy to get caught up in the euphoria of love, which isn't a bad thing. But just as you cannot live Aspen's life for her, you cannot live your life solely for her sake either.
Absolutely. Don't define yourself by another person. You are your own person.
By all means, love passionately, and deeply, and recklessly. But don't forget to live for yourself, too.
I find myself on the verge of saying, I know, but catch myself. Instead, just nod. Because I also know what Juliet herself has been through to find herself offering that advice. With a smile returning to her face, Juliet's serious demeanor lightens a little.
Well, now that I've prattled on for a while, I do think I'll get some rest of my own.
I manage to smile back.
Sleep tight.
Don't let the bed bugs bite.
Thank you.
She starts to exit the kitchen, but as she passes me, Juliet pauses and then backtracks a step.
Perhaps it was just the light, but is there something different about your bead?
Is it glowing brighter again?
Huh?
I hadn't even looked at my necklace today. I take it off to see what Juliet's talking about. Oh, that's... It's still glowing, no more or less brightly than it was yesterday, I think. But turning it over in my hands a few times, I notice something. Sure enough, she's right.
It's cracked.
That's less good, right? Unless it's like an egg that's about to hatch. Because they mentioned like the whole sort of like Sky Foxes thing, right? But is that like ascending to like another plane of existence? Ew. Have to see, I guess. There's a hairline fracture running across part of my bead. It's so small that at first it looks like an eyelash or piece of dust. When I rub my finger over it, I can feel the subtle ridge, as well as a light tingling sensation, like my fingertip is falling asleep.
May I see it closer?
I hold out the necklace for her, angling it so she can get as clear a view as possible. Of course, I can't let it go or it would go back around my neck. Juliet starts to reach one hand for it, but then changes her mind, instead just leaning in close to examine. Finally, she shakes her head.
Unfortunately, I can't discern anything more than the obvious. Your magic remains foreign to me, like a book in an unknown language.
I can't help but be reminded of the scroll upstairs.
What do you think it could mean?
For a long moment, she's quiet. Even before asking, I know the answer.
I don't know. But I don't think it's coincidence or random.
Me either.
I'm sure the frustration in my voice is obvious. There's always questions, and rarely any answers. It's getting harder and harder to push them from my thoughts. Rather than repeat our goodbyes, Juliet places a reassuring hand on my shoulder.
I have faith that when the time is right, you'll know what to do. Trust in yourself. The same way you look at Aspen and don't understand how she undervalues herself. Slow progress is still progress.
I nod, and she goes off to bed. Progress. I just wish I knew what it was progressing towards. Alright. Let's have ourselves a save over here. And let's go talk with our slightly airheaded friend, shall we? The rehearsals for the play carry on regularly over the month. We have at least one every week, and sometimes more. Though I don't go to every single one of them, I go to lots. Aspen and Juliet are probably more excited about it than I am, and always encourage me before I go, even though I've told them several times that I'm not really participating that much. Out of the entire cast, there's definitely no one who works as hard as Lena and Cyrus do. Not only do those two have the most lines, they have the most energy too. Considering how quiet Cyrus is when he's not acting, watching and hearing him perform with so much emotion is like seeing a whole new person. Even though the play isn't until December, more than a month away, neither of them ever slack off. When I'm there, I sometimes help out with things like organising the props or handing out refreshments. The actual performance will be on a real stage, but we haven't been able to use one for practice yet. Sometimes I do have to perform my part, which mostly means standing still in my costume, but sometimes having to move around. I'm not totally sure why they don't just use fake trees, but it's okay. That's what I said! Why don't they just use fake trees? Although I wasn't exactly looking forward to being a part of this at first, the more time I spend at rehearsals, the more fun I have. Even though I have to meet most of the cast every time, They're all pretty friendly and easy to get along with, and even I can see the improvement that happens every week. Everyone is getting better, not just Lena and Cyrus. Occasionally, other people in the park will stop by to watch for a bit, and they always clap or cheer when we're done or when they leave. Overall, play is a nice distraction from the worries of my everyday life. It's nice to have one thing that I don't have to stress about. There's still a long way to go, but I know that just means we'll improve even more before the real thing. Surprising even myself, I'm looking forward to showing everyone just how hard we've been working. Oh, just a brief scene there, I guess. It's late, and the moon is high in the sky when there's suddenly a knock at my window. Silver? I burst up from my spot on the floor where I'd been dozing.
What the?
In the darkness, it takes a moment for me to discern the face behind the glass. When I do, it turns out to be the last person I'd expect.
Silver?
I pull the window open to where Silver is perched on the branch of a nearby tree.
What are... How did... Why not just use the door?
It's a door.
Come outside. I would speak with you.
Ignoring my questions like always, Silver stands up. I catch the corner of a cocky smile before she leaps from the branch, plummeting towards the ground below.
Hey!
Clutching the windowsill, I jam my head out the window, expecting to see her crumpled on the grass. Instead, I'm just in time to watch her nimbly land on her feet, transform, before running off into the darkness behind the library. No time to wait or even think about it. I follow after her. Of course, I take the stairs and go out the front door first. I transform right away and wrap around the building, expecting to have to chase after Silver, even though she came here. Instead, she hasn't gone far at all. Just beyond the edge of the yard, she stands in her human form and stares out at the city below us. Many windows are dark, but many are illuminated too. The street lights and lamps stand lit, even with no one to use them. A warm yellow glow pushes away the darkness at the edges of town. Changing forms back as well, I walk over to stand beside her. Without looking at me, Silver extends an arm in front of her, as if reaching for the city. It's her wrist with her bracelet on it, and her bead shines in the dark like another street lamp. Unhooking my necklace, I hold it out alongside hers. The glow of my bead is about as bright as hers. Scoffing, Silver lowers her arm, and I put my necklace back on. I wait for her to start talking instead of saying anything myself. I find myself doing this a lot with Aspen and Juliet as well, though here it's different. Not only was Silver the one who came to me, but anything I say would probably be ignored anyway. Sure enough, it isn't long before she twirls around to point a finger in my face.
Listen up, because I'm only going to tell you this once.
One more time than I usually get. I just nod, signaling for her to continue.
I simply couldn't watch you continue to wallow in ignorance.
Thank you.
Whereas your magic causes those you encounter to forget about you, mine assists me in a different way. It tells me the truth of things, of people, human and fabled alike.
Alright.
To my eyes, their emotions are as colors. Fear, like everything else, has its own glow. I've seen it ignite in my presence, at my command. In this way, I've survived.
It sounds like you can make people scared of you, like manipulate other people's emotions.
The betrayal of their hearts is twofold. They reveal unseen feelings that they try to mask with words. And the hearts of men are fickle besides. I've seen boredom turn to cruelty, fear become hatred.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I see, and you do not. The truth that lies behind all promises and pretenses. Today's friends are tomorrow's bitter foes. You should know all this. I know what it's like to be one of us. I know what you've lived through. And yet, even now...
She cuts herself off and scoffs. Or maybe it's her choking something back. I wonder why Steam messages are sort of like popping up. I wonder if it's to do with like a new update on OBS, because I don't think that's happened before. I'll have to look into this later.
What color is mine right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll look into that a little bit later. To give her an out, I ask a question instead. Her eyes narrow, but with concentration, not irritation. As I stand there, I match her gaze. This is the first time we've really spoken normally, instead of her trying to pick a fight or hide from me. She's the first to look away, speaking to the ground.
The color of young spring. It's difficult to read the aura of our kind, requiring my concentration and focus. Even then, it's but a pale glow. With humans and most others, they cannot hide their light from me if they wanted to.
Like why you don't forget about me, right? Even though everyone else does.
She nods. I want to know what that color means to her. I also want to know why she's choosing to just tell me this, after dodging everything else I've ever asked her. I'm sure she wouldn't tell me if I tried. But there is something else that I do have to ask, because I'm pretty sure I already know the answer.
Have you ever told anyone else?
Staring at the ground, it takes a long time before Silver shakes her head.
Thought so.
I don't think Silver's quite as old as I am, but she's still spent decades on her own, if not longer, just like me. In all that time, any chances I might have had to do something different or change something, I just let pass me by. I never had any idea what I might be missing. Beside me, Silver adjusts her mask and shifts her weight to a good leg. She is about to transform and probably run away. She had to have some reason for bringing me out here, right? Was she hoping that I'd be the one to extend a hand? I think she'd get along with Aspen and Juliet once she had some time to warm up to them. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be having this conversation with her right now. Before she can change, I suddenly reach over and put my hand on Silver's shoulder. She stiffens and goes tense beneath my fingers, pulling away inconceivably fast. Facing me from a few meters away, I don't need to be able to read auras to detect the anger emanating from her.
I'm sorry.
Damn it. That was dumb, even for me. I hold up my hands, trying to show that I won't do it again.
I just...
Just what? Wanted to help her? Saying that would definitely make her hate me. Instead, I clamp my jaw shut before I can make things worse. For a moment, her face softens and she looks torn. She dispels that by shaking her head.
We're even now.
Within seconds, she's a fox. And then she's part of the night, vanished into the darkness. Considering she sees, emotions as colors, that might be why she was so opposed to being called Silver. This time, I don't even think about chasing her. I would have gotten upset too if one of my friends had done that to me early on too. But I don't think she'll hold it against me. At least, not any more than the rest of my existence. After all, I realize way too late. Her coming here in the first place was already her reaching out. And if there's one thing I know for sure, it's that you can't rush these things.
I'm sorry. I hope I'll see you again soon.
I don't yell, but I don't whisper either. I'm pretty sure that she's still close enough to be able to hear me. I've done about as much as I can. The rest is up to her. The first thing out of my mouth when I wake up is a sigh. Outside my window lurks a murky, grey morning, which feels like an omen. It's chilly, and I'm tempted to stay under the warm covers. But I force myself up and get ready, and then go to breakfast. Juliet and I chit-chat as we wait for Aspen to arrive, but she never does. By the time we finish eating, it seems pretty clear that Aspen won't be showing up.
She must still be asleep.
Maybe she's, crunching on her novel. Just like the morning that Cello and her friends left, I'm guessing that Aspen's overslept. After Silver ran away last night, I was also kept awake with my thoughts for a while. I figured I'd be the last one to get to the kitchen. Aspen still has me beat though. I try calling her, but it goes to voicemail. As soon as I hang up the phone, I return to my room. I put on my shoes and then leave the library, waving at Juliet when I pass by the dining room again. I'm sure she knew what I was going to do as soon as I did. I'm not too worried about Aspen, at least not any more than usual. But I have a feeling she could use the support right now. I knock on Aspen's door and wait. Silence. I knock again and wait. I knock a third time, harder. Finally, I hear a sleepy voice from inside.
I'm coming.
When the door finally opens, I'm relieved to see Aspen is alright. Or at least upright and unharmed. She definitely isn't doing great, though. Her hair is a mess, and she still has a blanket wrapped around her. As she stares at me, blinking in the morning sun, she groans and holds a hand to her head.
Miho? God, what time? Ugh, come in.
I step inside gingerly, shutting the door behind myself. Inside, it's dark, with the curtains drawn and all the lights off. Aspen immediately returns to her bed and lies down with another groan. As I walk towards the bed, my foot bumps against something on the floor. At first, I'm afraid it's one of the cats, but when I look down, I see it's actually an empty can. It rolls under the bed all the same. In fact, there are a few of the empty cans around. I pick one up because I don't recognize the label and can immediately identify it by smell as beer. That's not a good idea, Aspen. There's better things you can drink than beer. I never had any alcohol, but I know enough about it just from TV and my travels. I sit down on the bed beside Aspen, who's covered her face with a stuffed animal. Still, she manages to blindly fumble around with one hand until she finds and holds mine.
I'm late for breakfast, aren't I?
Yeah, I came to make sure you're okay.
She makes a sound that could be pain or just acknowledgement.
Sorry, you should have called. You didn't have to walk all the way here.
I tried.
Her other hand appears in the darkness, also fumbling around until she finds her phone, which is under a pillow just like her.
Oops.
Oops indeed.
I'm sorry. I slept right through it.
Looking around her room, I notice more than just the beer cans. Her laptop is on the floor, half closed. Notebooks and papers are scattered around the room, not just on the desk, but everywhere. Last time I was here, her apartment was messy. Today, it's a disaster.
It's okay. No big deal. I'm more worried about you than anything.
I'm fine. I'm fine. The only problem is I slept in so damn late. I was planning to call out of work anyway. I need the extra time to finish my edits. And I may have had a bit too much to drink last night, which I'm really paying for now.
Definitely shouldn't be drinking while editing.
I don't think you can call this fine.
Gently, I lift the plushie away from Aspen's face.
No!
Although she groans and makes grabby hands at it, she doesn't really try to stop me. Instead, she looks up at me with red-rimmed eyes and manages a smile. Gesturing for me to come closer, I lean down and Aspen pulls me in to kiss her. Her hand lingers on my cheek when I sit back up.
What if I said I was fine now?
I wouldn't believe you.
I still wouldn't believe you.
Hmm.
Although she pretends to pout, Aspen doesn't try to deny it again. Since she's not in any shape to sit up, I lie down next to her instead. I can't help but notice the makeup stains on her pillow.
This is 2 days in a row now that I've gotten to wake up next to you. More or less. That's something good at least.
You missed out on breakfast today, though.
I'll take that trade.
Closes her eyes, yawning.
But that's also 2 days in a row that I've overslept. I'd actually meant to get an early start today and work on my book a bit before going up to the library.
You were gonna get up early? When did you go to bed?
2 a.m.? Aspen and I had already said goodnight to each other before Silver showed up at my window, and that was somewhere around midnight.
I don't remember. It's a little fuzzy, you know. I'm in the final stretch, though. I can afford to sacrifice a little sleep.
Maybe if it was just sleep. And just a little.
What do you mean?
What do you mean, what do I mean? Even Juliet can tell how exhausted you are all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Even Juliet, hmm? Besides, it's only a couple more days. I have to finish and send it in by the end of Sunday, and then...
And then...
Then... everything can go back to normal. Like my sleep schedule. Then it'll be out of my hands and someone else's problem.
It's gonna be that easy? You'll just never have to think about your book again.
Well, no, of course, not like that. I hope not, at least. Unless the changes still aren't what they're looking for. But I don't even want to consider that. Oh God, I do not want to consider that. There'll be more work to do, of course. More writing and more editing. Hopefully not as much editing. I struggled a lot this time around because it was so different from the original manuscript and not the kind of thing I usually write. But once I got the hang of it, it started being easier. So I think next time around shouldn't be as difficult because I already know what they're looking for.
He has to stop, take a deep breath before continuing. To continue talking.
That's not counting all the other stuff like paperwork and promotion and all that, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Oh, rights and licensing too. That's another thing to think about, but later. The first time I do all that might be tough, but it should also get easier, just like the editing. I've done a lot of research and...
Aspen.
It does make sense, given what the best-selling trends have been lately. Usually I'm more into...
Aspen!
The tiny hic. She cuts off mid-sentence.
Okay, I know that sounds like a lot, but...
Aspen, you can't keep doing this to yourself.
I don't like interrupting her, but I know where this is going. At my words, he does stop and gazes up at the ceiling before speaking in a very small voice.
What else can I do, though? I know how hard it is to understand from the outside, but that's what it's like to be an artist. Opportunity rarely knocks twice, as they say. It could be years before I have another chance like this, if ever. Some things are worth persevering through. So what if I have to call out of work a couple times or miss some sleep? That won't matter in the long run. When there's a line of people waiting for a midnight release at the bookstore or posting fan fiction online, someday I'll forget all the bad stuff that happened, or even look back and laugh. Someday it'll be worth it.
Someday?
He nods.
But who cares about someday when you're miserable now, love?
Yeah, it's something that I do have to tell people sometimes when they're working themselves to the bone. It's alright, I just have to put in the work now, and it will pay off in the long run. I'll be able to retire happy. And I sort of look at them and think, you sure? You're not just going to be stuck working and working and working and not being able to enjoy yourself and then work yourself into an early grave? Definitely need to enjoy things in the moment. It feels strange to call her that, but also right. Just like when she said it to me, and it seems like it works. I hear her breath catch in her throat, and even as she turns to face me again, I can see the glimmer of tears in her eyes. More than ever, I wish I knew what to say that could help her. If Juliet was here, I'm sure she'd have some great advice to offer. It's hard for me to understand what it is she's going through. On the other hand, really easy to see how it's affecting her.
I know, I'm the last person who should tell someone how to spend their time. But it can't be worth feeling like this all the time, just so maybe someday it'll be better, right? Even if I don't know anything about writing or books or any of that, all of those next steps you talked about sound just as bad. You used to be so excited about your book, but now it just makes you sad all the time. If it would really get better after this weekend, that'd be one thing, but it wouldn't, would it?
Aspen slowly shakes her head. Tears silently roll down her face, onto her pillow and hair. I scoot closer, so that our foreheads are touching. Even then, I can barely hear her as she whispers.
I know. I know that you're right and it won't get easier, but I'm right too. All those things I said about maybe not getting another chance, or about how it's never easy for anyone, they're true as well. I wish it wasn't. I wish this wasn't my only choice because it's not even mine anymore. It's not my story or characters, it's something else. And I don't know what else to do. If my original story was any good, it wouldn't have been rejected so many times, or needed so many changes. And they're not bad changes either, they make sense, they're just not mine.
Are you really okay with that?
For all of about 2 seconds, she holds my gaze. Then Aspen truly bursts into tears. It might be her most honest answer yet. Her whole body shakes as she cries. I do what I can to hold her. The 2 cats hop up onto the bed, concerned and investigating. Corners of my eyes burn too. Not for myself, but for Aspen, and for the helplessness I feel. But also, I recall what Juliet said, that this is something Aspen has to go through herself.
I don't know if I am. I don't know. I thought I was. Kept telling myself I was, but...
It's hard for her to speak in between sniffles and sobs. I just let her cry against me, doing what I can do. Be there for her. She doesn't need to finish her sentence anyway. We both already know the answer. I stroke her hair and try to think of how to piece together what I want to say to her. It's tough, because I know I don't have anything that would be helpful or might solve a problem. All I can do is be honest.
I don't know the difference between good and bad writing, of course. I've only ever read one book. But I still really like that book. Enough to read it again and again yesterday. And the only reason I could even do that is because you and Juliet seem to like books so much that I had to try them too. Spending hours hunched over that desk, copying those letters a million times, I wouldn't have done that for just anyone, you know? I'm glad I did, though. It was worth it just to be able to read The Fox in the Grove, even though I already knew the story. That was something I never understood before. Why anyone would want to read a book more than once. You already know what's going to happen. But because it makes me think of you, and that you wrote it just for me to be able to read, I don't think I'll ever be able to like a book more.
Wiping her eyes, she manages a shaky sigh. It might be a laugh.
Well, I can't complain about that kind of critical reception.
Her sobs have gone back to being sniffles and hiccups, and she's slowly able to catch her breath. The pillow that we share is soaked with her tears, but I barely notice. The 2 cats are still nearby, and she scoops them up and pulls them towards her as well.
You guys are worried too, huh?
Meow. They both meow in protest as Aspen brings them into our hug. There isn't really room, but Aspen manages to squeeze them in. They immediately hop away though, and she doesn't try to stop them.
Not too worried, I see.
We snuggle for a bit longer, and then for the first time since she got into bed, Aspen sits back up and rubs her eyes. I sit up too, and she casually leans against me as she looks around. It's a lot brighter now than it was when I got here, even through the curtains.
It is a bit of a mess here, isn't it?
A little bit. Yeah.
Aspen reaches down and picks up one of the empty beer cans, examining it before tossing it into the recycling bin.
Tasted awful anyways.
Yep, that's beer for you.
I didn't even know you like beer.
I don't.
Another can is on Aspen's nightstand, and she chucks that into the bin as well, while gathering some of the scattered papers around the apartment. I help clean, throwing away anything that looks like trash and organizing anything that doesn't. Aspen takes care of all that, replacing her laptop on her desk and tidying some of the clutter. Finally, she opens the curtains and we sit back down. I wait for her to say something, but there still hasn't been any resolution. Oh, and we've got our ad break, so I will be back in a moment. See you soon, everyone. Alright, we have returned. And I had a quick look into why it might be capturing Steam notifications during that break. I wasn't able to find why it was doing that. Like, I've got the option like, turned off, so it shouldn't have been showing up. I don't know, it might be something to do with OBS updating recently. I don't know. Hopefully it's something that they can fix up soon. Anyway, let's get back to the game, shall we? I wait for her to say something, since there still hasn't been any resolution. You don't have to wait very long.
I'm going to send an email to Avery and tell them I've changed my mind. And then I'm not interested in making the changes they wanted.
Wait, you've already decided that?
I'm happy to hear her decision, but I wasn't expecting it to come this fast.
I have to give them an answer soon, one way or another. To be honest, I was already thinking about it, and have been for days. In my heart, I think it's what I've wanted to say this whole time.
Daniel, thank you very much for following. Welcome to the Fox Shrine. I hope you enjoy your stay. Yeah. It does sound like they were asking, like, for major parts of the story to be changed, rather than just writing it in a better way. So I can understand Aspen not wanting to do that. She said so herself, it's no longer her work anymore.
But I kept telling myself that I should just try a little harder and power through. I could probably do that if I put my mind to it. But there was something you said earlier. And as soon as you said it, I knew you were right, because it was something I was trying not to admit to myself. That somewhere along the way, something I love had turned into something I dread.
That is very important. It happens a lot when people like start to think like, hey, I should try to earn money from what I love. You see this with writing, certainly. Use a more current example, you see it with like streaming, for instance. People think that like, oh hey, like I like playing games. Why don't I try and make a career out of streaming games or something like that? And sadly, that turns into something that they hate, because the process of streaming is certainly quite different from just playing a game on your own. And like, if you're trying to sort of like earn money from it, then there's a lot of effort you got to put into it, and like you're doing it solely for the money at that point, rather than because like of enjoyment for the game itself. I try not to like. I stream because I enjoy it and I want to share that with other people. I don't do this for the money or anything. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate it when people subscribe and all that and donate. That's great. I appreciate it, but that's not the main reason I'm doing this. I do this to motivate myself to play more games, to show off games to people, spend time with people as they come around who are hopefully like-minded in one way or another. It's not for the money. If it were, like, I'd have to treat it like a job, or a second job, I guess. Like, be more professional, to be more marketable. I'd have to market myself and shit like that. I don't want to do that. I don't enjoy that. Like, if I were like in a situation where I could like outsource it to have like other people do that for me, like maybe, but yeah, I'm not into doing that myself or anything. All right.
I pictured myself continuing down that path. If I lost that love forever, would it be worth it?
I've seen people lose that love, and it's sad to see, to be honest.
It might be. It might not. There's no telling how it would go. But you're right that I have something to live for right now. And someone to love. And so I think maybe that much is enough. More than enough, even.
Aspen leans in, and I do too, closing my eyes in anticipation. The relief that floods through me as I hear Aspen's words is like a glass of water after a long run. Pausing just inches from my lips, Aspen whispers just one more thing before we kiss.
I have everything I need right here.
Ah. The two of us linger around Aspen's apartment for a while longer. I play with the cats, while Aspen collects herself, and eventually manages to send off her email. Around lunchtime, we head to the Bell House for Aspen's midday shift.
Are you sure you want to go to work today? You said you were gonna call out.
I'm sure. It'll be nice to have the distraction. Sorry to leave you on your own, though.
It's alright. I'll figure out something to do.
I study Aspen's face. Her eyes are still red and puffy, though glasses help hide that. She still seems fragile, but I feel less worried about her than before.
See you tomorrow then?
Maybe. I might just need a day alone. Not that being with you doesn't help me feel better, but I just have a lot of thinking to do.
I understand. We can hang out again when you're ready.
I'll see you on Halloween for sure.
Cool.
I'll go as a fox for Halloween. Aspen adjusts her glasses and removes her hat, preparing to go change into her uniform.
Well, I'm going to go clean myself up a bit before my shift starts. I can't let Lena see me like this.
You sure you'll be okay?
Yes, I have lots of practice at keeping myself together. That's all customer service really is.
Alright. See you later then.
Goodbye, Miho. I love you.
Love you too.
After a final kiss, she goes inside to start her shift. It's been an emotional day already, and it's barely half over. Despite that, I feel optimistic as I walk away from the cafe. I'm still concerned about Aspen, but I know she'll be okay in the long run. There's a long road ahead, but things are looking up. Alright. Got you lot in the library. Let's save the game here. Here we go. I continue to see Tommy and his family fairly regularly. Of course, I hear from the three of them every day just to maintain their memories. It makes my daily check-ins take a little while, but that's okay. Gwen also comes to the library to study several times a week, sometimes by herself, and sometimes with Tommy. When Elijah drops by to return the books he borrowed, he mentions that he wasn't able to learn much about Gerby like he'd hoped, but that he thinks Gerby comes from somewhere other than the underworld like I do. That would explain why it's harder to find information about him. It reminds me a bit of Aspen and Juliet, trying to find out more about my bead and magic. At least in that case, there's Silver to help explain some things, at least grudgingly. As for Tommy, it seems like he's doing okay. I don't hear anything else about him getting into fights, for one thing. When he's at the library, he either looks for bugs or just reads the book at the table with his mum. Slowly but surely, The three of them, or if you count Gerby, have slipped into their own routine. I hope Elijah was right. He said that things between them will just have to get better with time. After eating breakfast with just Juliet, I have to figure out how to spend a day without Aspen. We had a quick video call this morning, where she said that she still needs a day to herself to just unwind and think and cry. I wish that I could be there to comfort her, but I also understand why she needs to be alone for a while. She's learning those hard lessons for herself, like Juliet said. I'll see her tomorrow, but I can't let today go to waste. Juliet finds me in the kitchen, looking out the back window.
Is something out there?
Nah, just thinking about what I want to do today. Aspen's not feeling very good.
In the shade of the big tree in the backyard, there are a couple birds hopping around, looking for worms. That gives me an idea.
Could I go see that bird we rescued? The one your friend picked up.
You can certainly visit the preserve. Although I couldn't say if they'd be able to point you to our friend in particular. There are quite a lot of other birds who call it home.
That's fine. I can look for it on my own.
Of course. It's a bit of a walk, but there's a shuttle that can take you most of the way.
Juliet shows me where to find the shuttle, and I use my phone to guide me there. I don't have to wait long until it arrives and I climb on board. The driver takes us in the direction of the Bell House in Aspen's apartment. I've walked down these roads so many times that it feels strange to see them rush by out the windows, like I'm fast-forwarding through a TV show. At some point, we take a turn that I've never taken before, and soon we're going through areas that are new to me. I watch them go by, not paying enough attention to commit them to memory. Eventually, I stop and disembark. As I get my first whiff of the clean air, I understand why it's a preserve. As far as I can see, the land is covered in forest. Not just trees, but forest. Grown so thick that it looks like a solid wall of green. The only exception is a river. Winds through the hills where the water is crystal clear and still. The nearby botanic gardens were lovely, but this is something else. This is something more. I've got a few... Wasn't expecting a choice here, to be honest. Let's save the game. Alright. I miss traveling to new places, or I'm glad to have settled down now. I don't know if this is an important choice, but I don't know, probably is an important choice. I don't know if anyone in chat's paying attention, but if they have any input on this, I'm happy to hear from them. Like, traveling to new places is definitely good to do. But she's definitely done a lot of that. Like, it doesn't hurt to sort of like settle down for a little bit, and that doesn't stop you from like traveling to new places, right? I don't know, this seems like a little bit more positive in my mind. Yeah, well, we'll go with this one. I'm glad to have settled down now. It reminds me of my days in the wild, running free. Although those were good times, I prefer the simplicity and security of my daily life that I have established. I quietly pay for my ticket and then hurry out as fast as I can. I see why Juliet said they wouldn't be able to help me find my bird. There are a ton of places it could be. but that doesn't mean I can't try. Maybe if I found the person who took the bird in, I'd know what happened to it. Might have better luck just looking for it myself, though. It's a big place, I decide. Too big for me to try to explore on my own. I should look for Juliet's friend, Amaya. Should have asked Juliet how to contact her before I left. I'm sure Juliet's asleep by now, and I don't want to disturb her. Besides, it's not like I'm in a hurry. Taking my time, I try to see as much as I can. It's not crowded, but the preserve is far from empty too. There are just as many fables as there are humans. Some I've recognized, like a faun and a dryad. I wonder if the trees make any of them feel like I do. If any of them have a story like I do. Come from someplace far away like I do. There are kids, too. Human kids with their teachers, being led around by tour guides. Lots of them look excited to be here. I hope maybe they can learn to love it as well. I ask some of the guides or instructors if they know who and where Amaya is. Some of them have no idea what I'm talking about. Some know her, but not her location. Finally, I find someone who's able to point me in the right direction. I end up back near where I started, near the edge of the river. Sure enough, the lady from before is there, talking with another guest. I wait until they finish their conversation before I approach.
Excuse me.
Hi, how can I help you?
A few weeks ago, you picked up a hurt bird from my friend Juliet. I was wondering if you could tell me where it is now.
Oh, right. That poor guy. I'm afraid the little fellow didn't make it.
Unfortunate. It does happen, sadly.
I think that when he took the tumble that hurt his leg, he must have hurt something inside him, too.
Oh.
It's dead. I hadn't even thought about that possibility. This whole time I just assumed it'd be alive. That it had gotten better.
It's sad, but it's the way of nature sometimes. Mind if I ask how you were involved?
Naturally, she doesn't remember me being there.
I was the one who found it and brought it to Juliet's. I wasn't around when you picked it up, though.
Oh, right. Well, you can sleep easy and know that you did what you could.
He sounds... Oh, so, let's sit up straight, shall we? And have a bit of a drinky drink. Doing things the manual way, are ya? Oh, let's have another drink, because you want me to do everything. Alright. Spamming those points, huh? Alright, give me a moment. I'll give you a double stretch as well. Alright. Alright. How are you going anyway, Callista? Go. Alright. Get them kinks out. Okay. She sounds so casual about it. Guess she's probably experienced this a lot. Meanwhile, I don't know what to say. I just stand there, surprised. It was just a bird, sure, but it's still something. The bird? It was everything. Maya starts to walk away, but before she can leave, there's something I want to know. Something I've never given much thought to before, but that my recent time with Silver has made me wonder about.
Hey, I have a question.
Shoot.
Do you believe in fate?
He stares at me in mild shock. It's a weird thing to ask, I know, but I hold her gaze and don't back down. Geez me, ho, just asking a stranger, do you believe in fate? That's not something you do.
Now there's a question.
Looking past me at the water, she takes a deep breath and lets it out slowly.
If you're asking if I think there's a world out there where that bird survives or never gets hurt to begin with, then sure, maybe. I'm not smart enough to know, but it's not this one. Destiny, luck, whatever you want to call it, life's unfair, that's a fact. It doesn't care about any one of us. Sometimes you can do everything right and it just isn't enough. I don't think that's destiny personally, that's just being alive. Being here, doing what I can to help who I can, that's just me playing my part in life. If that's because some invisible force led me, then it doesn't change anything. Bigger picture or not, it's what I choose to do with my time right now. And I choose to believe that makes a difference. Hope that helps.
Thanks.
Don't mention it. Say hi to Juliet for me, will you?
Yeah, no problem.
Once again, she starts to walk away, and this time I don't stop her. Instead, I walk out to the nearby gazebo and sit down, surrounded by quiet water. Roll for initiative. Even though her reasoning was totally different, I can't help but think about how Amaya pretty much said the same thing Silver did. It was just a bird, and that's just life. Silver, who wanted to let it die, and Amaya, who tried to help it live. I wonder how Silver would feel if she heard the news. I'm sure she'd pretend not to care, but she did follow me all the way back to the library just to see. On the other hand, Amaya didn't seem all that upset. I could tell she didn't know why it mattered to me. Like always, it's hard for me to answer that question myself. I know how nature works as well as either of them. No better than to expect it to care. That doesn't mean I can't, though. Even if no one else sees it, Bird was still alive as we were. Maybe it didn't read books or drink coffee or watch TV, but it still existed. It ate, flew, and sang. The forest on Mount Victoria will be a little more quiet from now on, even if nobody notices. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference myself, I know. It's not like that bird and I were friends. Still, whenever I go back, I'll think about it. Think about the tree that used to be its home. The nest that it'll never return to. Sighing, I stand up and start walking again. Despite how it turned out, I'm still glad I came to this place. Still glad that it exists. It might not be perfect, but it's doing the best it can. The end of October arrives with a brisk morning chill. I take my time waking up, enjoying the comfortable warmth of my bed like always. Outside my window, the leaves and branches shake with the breeze. They can't reach me here. Oh, and don't forget, in New Zealand, we're going to be getting closer to summer now. Because we're in the southern hemisphere. From downstairs, the warm smell of coffee wafts up, promising me refreshment and energy. Something else drifts up too. Something even better. The comfortable sound of Aspen and Juliet chatting in the dining room. How long has it been? Weeks at least. The past few times that Aspen has been here for breakfast, she's been too preoccupied to really have a good time. But even from up here, I can hear the sound of her laughter like a bell. Smiling, I get myself up, ready for the day. I hope October will take our worries with it as well. I head downstairs and we go through the usual smiles and greetings, plus the usual chit-chat as we eat. Eventually, we clear away our plates and just sit comfortably together like we used to.
So, Miho, today will be your first holiday, correct?
Yep. The first one I've paid attention to, at least. I don't really know what Halloween is about, though.
It's not really something celebrated in Australia, at least. Like, maybe a tiny little bit. Like, shops will, like, put out, like, a few sort of decorations here and there. But it's nowhere near as big as it is in America or Japan.
It depends, really. In some parts of the world, it's a time to honor the dead. In many others, it's simply a time to celebrate the season and have fun.
Most of the time it's about sweets and costumes. I'm sure there'll be plenty of trick-or-treaters coming by tonight.
Hey there, Kaya! Thank you very much for the raid. What were you up to this time? Playing some Halo, huh? Did you shoot the bad guys? Master Chief, Halo is a cool guy. He shoots aliens and doesn't afraid of anything. We're just playing some Please Be Happy. And trying to be happy. Yeah. I don't know if New Zealand's different from Australia, but I definitely would not expect plenty of trick-or-treaters at all. Very occasionally, I've had like a group of kids like come up and like, huh? What? Sometimes they aren't even dressed up. And this is like really rare. Like, people don't prepare for that sort of thing here. It's just not done. Admittedly, I did last year. I did see like, I think, like a couple of kids in like the shopping center, dressed up, like at lunchtime or something like that. I don't know.
What's that?
It's where kids put on costumes and go door to door, and the people who live there hand out candy.
I would have to ask someone from New Zealand if what Aspen's saying here is correct, because I feel like I feel like the author's made a mistake here.
For free?
Don't get any ideas.
Too late.
I picked up some bags of candy earlier, so there will be plenty to give out. Halloween is usually a busy night here, as you said. Will the two of you be here? Or do you have other plans?
There is actually some resistance to Halloween here. Some people don't like the idea of it, like, making us too American or anything like that. I personally do like Halloween, because I like dressing up and I like sweet things. But I don't celebrate it or anything like that. I just like the idea of it. And yeah, I think it's cool. Aspen and I look at each other, and I shake my head.
I don't have anything else.
Neither do I. So I think it's safe to say we'll be around.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to it. It's good to see you looking so well, Aspen. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Should we all go as vampires?
Me too. I'm still not quite back to 100%, but I'm getting there.
Have you decided what you're going to do?
Not entirely. I've decided that I'll put aside writing for a while, though. At least writing for anyone other than myself. I think I need to remember why I started doing it in the first place. After that, maybe I can start to think about publishing again, and manuscripts. That could be in a month, or in a year, or even several years.
Yeah, give it a thought. Under the table, Aspen takes my hand.
For once, I'm not in any rush.
Juliet looks at us fondly. Compared to a couple days ago, she looks relieved. It's clear that I wasn't the only one who was worried about Aspen.
That's good. I hope you'll take all the time that you need.
Mm-hmm. The three of us make plans for the evening, settling on a time that we'll be back at the library. Juliet departs for bed, and Aspen and I remain at the table. Aspen slouches, looking up at the ceiling with a contented sigh.
I can't remember the last time I had a morning like this. Not just with you and Juliet, but where I don't wake up feeling like I've already fallen behind in the day. No plans, no obligations.
The best days. He squeezes my hand.
Just us.
I've missed days like that too.
I know I've said it, but I'm sorry for worrying the two of you so much. And for being so distracted all the time. And for several other things that I'm sure will come to mind soon.
I shake my head.
Don't be sorry. I know you were trying really hard because of how important writing is to you.
Yes, well, there are other things that are important too. I can't let myself miss out on all those. Like this.
She leans over and kisses me on the cheek.
Okay. That is pretty important.
She laughs.
Glad you agree. There was one thing I wanted to do today, actually. And I was hoping you would join me.
Of course. What is it?
Aspen stands up and fetches a couple heavy books that are sitting on the counter, bringing them over to where we are. I recognize them as coming from Aspen's apartment, instead of being part of the library's collection. They make a heavy thud as she sets them on the table.
Something Mum and I used to do when I was a kid, although it's been a few years now.
She takes one of the books and opens it up, flipping through the pages quickly but carefully. I watch from over her shoulder until she finally stops. Are we baking cakes together?
Here we are.
Near the middle of the book, there's something tucked into the pages. Aspen delicately lifts it up for me to see. I can't read this.
Ooh.
It's a flower, but it's flat and dry. The petals look as dry and delicate as the paper they were stuck between.
Every summer, we'd go out and pick flowers to press. Isn't it pretty?
It is.
She offers it to me, and I take it very carefully. It's practically weightless. It feels like it could blow out of my hands at any second.
We used to do it to celebrate the end of each school year. Although it's not quite the same, lately I've been reminded of that feeling. One chapter ending, and another beginning.
Still got a few months before the school year ends.
So, if you're up for it, I thought perhaps we could go find some flowers of our own.
I'd love to.
Great! Let's be off then.
I let her lead the way outside. We searched for a while, looking for any flowers that Aspen thinks will work. There are plenty in people's gardens, but she says we're not allowed to take those. I'm reminded of people stealing my dad's flowers shortly after we had planted them. Never caught who did that, but eventually they stopped. Guess maybe they stole enough. We tried the park, the mountain, and even the sides of the roads, but nothing we find meets Aspen standards. Finally, after going around a big chunk of town, we spot a hidden grove near the waterfront that seems perfect. Oh, by stealing flowers, I don't mean just like cutting flowers off, I mean taking the whole plant. There are several different types of flowers, all in bloom. We walk over and stop just at the edge of the patch.
These should do. What do you think?
They look really pretty. But I thought that about the other ones we saw too.
It's not just about how pretty they are. They need to be the right shape and size as well. These ones check all the boxes. Go ahead and choose some that look nice to you. Then you can snip off the tops with these.
She hands me a pair of scissors.
I don't know how to decide. They all look nice to me.
It should be easy then. It's best if they're kind of flat though. Remember to only take the top so that the rest of the plant can grow back.
I watch her pick a couple so that I can make sure I'm doing it right. Aspen only chooses flowers that are in the middle of big patches, instead of ones that are alone. After a bit, I wander off to select my own. Both of us move around carefully, making sure not to step on anything delicate. There are some that look like the ones Aspen already had in her book, which reminds me of the flowers you can buy at the store. The sweet aroma isn't as strong as it would be if I were a fox, but it's still nice. There are others that I've never seen before that catch my eye as I'm deciding. Both kinds seem like they should work, so I'm not sure which to choose. This is a thing that it is... This is the second time we've gotten a choice along these lines here. That's interesting. Last time, we said that it was nice to sort of like settle down a little bit versus like new things. I think in this case, like go for the new ones rather than the familiar ones. Just get them in the shops, then why, right? New ones. I go with the unfamiliar flowers that are new to me. I want something that will stand out compared to the ones she picks. Imitating what I saw Aspen do, I snip off a few buds and bundle them up, making sure not to crush or damage them. Then I rejoin Aspen, who's finishing up too. She inspects my collection.
Oh, those are beautiful. Good choice. Are you all set?
Yeah. Ready if you are.
The two of us return to the library and the book's waiting for us there.
So, how do we do this?
It's quite simple, really. There are lots of ways to press flowers, but this method is the easiest. All you have to do is take your book.
Aspen grabs one of the heavy books she brought and opens it to somewhere in the middle.
Put a a piece of paper in here like this for the moisture.
She folds a plain sheet of paper in half and then slides it in where the pages meet.
Then you place your flowers on top and close the book. And that's it. Easy, right?
Doesn't damage the book or anything? Like, you need paper on top as well, right? To demonstrate, she arranges a few of the buds she selected, spacing them out like cookies on a sheet. Once she's satisfied, she shuts the book.
Oh, I can do that.
I take one of the others and repeat the process. When I close the front cover, the pages smush down the colourful flowers. Aspen puts both books side by side on the counter.
How long does it take? Should we come back later?
Longer than that. A few days, if not weeks. We want to get all the water squeezed out.
That long?
I'm afraid so. Mum always said the waiting was half the fun, because it gave you something to look forward to.
I'm not sure about that.
I tend to agree. There is a certain charm to it, though. I first learned about pressing flowers when I bought a book from a second-hand store that had a few left behind by a previous owner. They must have forgotten all about the flowers. They were bone dry, even more than the ones I showed you, and they'd stained the pages. They were still beautiful, though, and made my copy unique. I left them in there to this day on my shelf. It seemed wrong to remove them after so long.
What do you do with the ones you make?
Decorate, mostly. They make for nice accessories, or bookmarks, or even look nice on their own.
I can't wait to see.
Me either. Here, there are still a few left.
Aspen and I each have a couple flowers remaining, so she grabs another book and opens it up. She flips through the pages, getting closer to the middle, and then suddenly stopped. Nestled alongside a few flowers is a folded up paper with Aspen's name on it.
What's that?
She stares silently for a long time, and then gently removes everything. The flowers are almost entirely brown and fragile, except for a few splotches of white on the petals. Aspen sets them aside.
It looks like I did some forgetting too. I must have put these here years ago.
What about the paper?
There's another sheet in there that everything sat on top of. So the one with her name must not be the one to suck up the water. She gently removes the page in question. It's stained brown like the flowers, and sticks as she tries to take it out, but eventually gives way. It crackles in her hands as she turns it over a few times. Carefully unfolding it, Aspen holds the paper where she can read it.
It was a letter to my future self. I used to write them occasionally. Most got lost or thrown out ages ago, but it figures that I'd find one here and now.
What's it say?
I'm a little afraid to find out.
She clears her throat.
Dear Miss Benoit,
She gives me a sidelong glance.
I wish I'd just used my first name. I can't tell you how tired I am of reading letters that start like that. Anyway,
Being really formal to yourself, I see.
I'm writing this on the evening of my 13th birthday. In case you have forgotten, today I began writing my first novel. By the time that you read this, I expect that you have half a dozen or more complete aside from this one.
Again, Aspen looks at me.
As you can see, I used to be even more obnoxious when it came to writing. Mother suggested that I compose this letter in order
Mother?
to look back and reflect on how far I have come. I'm keeping my goals modest so that I might surprise myself in the future. Right now, there are many questions that I have. What was university like? Have you gotten married yet? How many other famous authors have you met? Have you made more friends? I hope that you have moved to a bigger city. Mother says someday I will appreciate our town more, but I don't believe her.
Well, that's one thing past you was right about.
There is not a single thing that I will miss from here after I've left, other than my parents, of course. I have been looking at possibilities for studying abroad when I am older, and am focusing on my academics to help facilitate that. When you read this, I wonder if you will remember writing it. I hope that you are laughing about how much better your life is than I am imagining now. Yours truly, Aspen Benoit.
After she finishes reading the letter aloud, Aspen silently rereads it a few more times. Then, she places it back where it came from, alongside the dry flowers and the rest that she picked together. Then, she closes the book.
Young Aspen got a few things right and a few things wrong, it seems. I'm over half a dozen books late, apparently. Modest goals, indeed. I don't really remember writing that particular letter. At least not too clearly. But for all the wishes that didn't come true, and all the things that I'm sure past me would be disappointed in current me for, it does make me smile to read it again.
I think that's the most important part.
I quite agree. It might not be the future I was imagining, but still, I wouldn't trade the present I have for anything.
Aspen and I clean up the leaves and trimmed stems, sweeping them into the garbage. Then, we stack the books and put them up on a high shelf, where they'll be safe and out of the way. We both stare up at them, full of memories, new and old.
That's enough of the past, for now. Come on, we have a whole day to enjoy.
Aspen places a hand on my shoulder and kisses my cheek, and then leads me out of the kitchen. I follow her out into the bright sunlight.
Right behind you.
Alright. Looking at the time, I think there is a good section to wrap things up for the day. But it will be nice to come back to this one hopefully next week. Alright? Hopefully that was something that everyone enjoyed.
Stop by again.
We-
I'll be here.
Yeah, we will stop by again. Don't you worry. Alright. So, hopefully everyone enjoyed that. It was good to get to play on my own computer again, rather than just on my laptop. As for what we're doing the rest of the week, no stream tomorrow, but on Thursday we will be playing some Jedi Fallen Order. Friday will be our Discord event. We'll be starting that up for at least a little bit until I have to go back to my mum's place. And the weekend will be more Super Robot Wars. Look forward to that, everyone. Alright. Now, let's go and find somebody to raid, shall we? Who is playing what? Let's see. I think. Let's go and raid Takoyaki Tai, who is doing an art stream, it looks like. There we go. And I think he is doing a VTuber model. So, yeah. Let's go and see what's going on there. Alright. Thank you very much as always. And I hope to see you all next time. Okay? See ya.